Good evening. I'm Anitra Steele, Chair of the Forums Committee. Welcome to our forum for the Raymore-Peculiar School Board. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kansas City, Jackson, Clay, and Platte counties, and Alpha Kappa Alpha Advocate for Social Justice Initiative of chapters Beta Omega and Psi Tau Omega. The forum will be recorded and will be available on the League's webpage, lwvkc.org, and on YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, grassroots, nonpartisan organization whose members do the hands-on work to defend democracy. While we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or political parties, we are directly involved with the sharing the important issues. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. We envision a democracy where every citizen has the knowledge, the right, the desire, and the confidence to participate. Our membership is open to everyone. I'd like you to know the other League members volunteering with me tonight. Cheryl Barnes is our timekeeper, and our Zoom will be monitored by Laura Mountjoy. The public has sent in the questions via the League's website, lwvkc.org. Tonight, we are very glad to welcome Charlie Keegan of Channel 41. Take her away, Charlie.
Thank you so much, Anitra. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm delighted to be here and to be a part of tonight's forum for the RAPEC School Board. I'm going to just lay out a few ground rules for you and explain what we're doing. The school board is a volunteer representative body elected by registered voters of the public school district. The board governs the school district and provides leadership and advocacy for public education. School boards make decisions in the best interest of the entire district, and these school board members will serve a 3-year term. Tonight, we'll hear from the candidates running for that school board position. These forums usually last about 90 minutes. I'm going to ask every candidate the same question. A lot of these questions were submitted from the public. Now, the order of who answers which questions was determined through a random selector, so it'll change for most questions. And candidates, you have 90 seconds to answer each question. And then at the very end, you'll have 2 minutes for your closing statements. You don't have to use all 90 seconds. That's up to you. All right. We, the League of Women Voters, invited all the candidates running for these 3 seats to tonight's forum, and we welcome the candidates who are participating tonight. Candidates, my ask for you is to please stick on your answers to the question we asked. Stay on topic. We're not going to have any rebuttals for different answers today, but if there's something that you really need to readdress, you can do that during your 2-minute closing statements at the very end. All right, guys, let's dive into some questions. The first one or two are just about you and your leadership style, and then we have some questions about more topics like bonds and specifics here in the school district. And Ruth Johnson is going to be the first person to answer the question. And I'll repeat the question for each person when I ask it. But this one's really straightforward. So please introduce yourself and tell us why you want to serve on the school board. Ruth Johnson.
Hi, good evening. First of all, thank you all for doing this. Informed voters is always a crucial piece of any community. Again, my name is Ruth Johnson. I am serving in my 5th term on the school board. So I've got the knowledge base to it. I enjoy being part of an engaged community, and that means my part of that is to engage with the community members about our school district and to be that conduit between the two.
Great. Thank you so much. Second person to answer is Lacey Cumberland. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you want to serve on the school board. Lacey.
My name is Lacey Cumberland, and I wanted to serve on the school board because I have decided I want to help out in our community more, and the school board is the place that I wanted to do it. I have been a student for most of my life, and I have worked in and around schools as a janitor and a few other things, and decided that it's time to help give back to our community, and the school board's how I want to do that.
Thank you so much. And Tommy J. Walsh, we'll come to you next. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you want to serve on the school board.
Hey, thank you, Charlie. Well, I'm a Mose State graduate also. My name is Tommy J, and I have a bachelor's from Brigham Young and a master's from Missouri State, but also a master's in social work from KU and a master's in school leadership from Baker. Three masters, crazy. But I'm a school social worker. I've been a school social worker for 24 years. And I know sometimes I get a little flack on the internet, like, should this person be working with children? But gosh, I've been doing it for 24 years, and I'm just a very good person. And I'm passionate about some topics, and I'm passionate about some direction for the district. We have more diversity than ever. All these apartments and move-ins and growth. And I think with that growth comes a growth in the school board. And so I am asking the voters to take a leap of faith and trust that I can lead the new directions of the new school district that has grown since Ruth started as president. And we're so thankful for her service. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you so much. All right, our next question has to do with Proposition RP that the voters will see also on the question. I'm going to just read a quick summary and then I'll ask you about it. And Lacey Cumberland, you'll be the first to answer this question. So voters will see a $45 million no tax increase bond proposal on their ballots this April. The district says this money will go toward safety and security improvements, early childhood learning spaces, expanded student learning and activity opportunities, upgrades to student activity sites, and maintaining existing facilities. So school board candidates, my question to you, why do or don't you support this bond? Lacey Cumberland.
I do support the bond as it's, as you stated, is a no tax increase, and our clubs definitely need some more assistance. I know I've talked to the robotics team who is hoping to get a little bit of that, and our buildings are definitely in need of some love and care. And that's why I support it. It is important to keep up all of our facilities. It's important to invest in our students and the sports teams and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I do support it.
Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, you're next. Why do or don't you support the bond question?
Hi. I've actually spoken to this with my wife about this and many people, and I've I've listened to a lot of Facebook um, information and debate, and I am really proud of the vote and not. Did I freeze? Am I frozen?
You
Oh
are
my goodness.
frozen. Yeah, we can hear you still, but your video
Okay.
is stuck.
Oh well,
Okay.
there we go. What a terrible picture. So I'm going to let the voters decide on that. Of course, we want all these wonderful things that are promised, but also people question about the money and where the money is going. And I'm not on the inside, I'm an outsider. And so I would like to be on the inside and know the nitty gritties of where money is going and what this will really cost. All those things are wonderful. We need those. We need bigger classrooms for our growing kids. The classrooms are too small. We need to invest in our teachers. So yes, each voter. I'm going to vote privately, and it's not anybody's business. Voters can make this decision for themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ruth Johnson, why do or don't you support Proposition RP.
Okay, thank you. I am support of it. If I think through the main 5 things that we are going to address, or we hope to address, because as with anything like this, it's estimates, and we all know the cost of construction varies greatly depending on what's going on in the rest of the world. Of course, number one at the top of the list is security. We want to make sure that we are creating as safe a space as we can for our students and teachers. We want all of them to feel safe in our buildings. Shull Early Childhood Center, that building is 50 years old and has served many, many purposes over the years. And if we look at early childhood, that's our first opportunity with kiddos usually. I've got a couple of granddaughters, and I see the value of what we can increase, especially if they are behind in any way and need some special services to really get that kickstart going. Maintain what we've got. Our facilities crew do amazing jobs maintaining what we've got and getting the longest shelf life, if you may, out of all of those things. So maintaining what we've got is crucial. And then, of course, our students, like she said, are engaged in so many things. Statistics will show that if a student is engaged in any activity of any kind, their grades are better, their behavior is better, their enrollment is better. So we want to do what's best for them to find a way to get engaged and find their little niche in life. On our website, anyone can look it up.
Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate that. I'll move on to our next question. It has to do with property taxes. And Tommy J, you'll be first to answer this. Schools depend on local property taxes for much of their funding. Cass County has a senior property tax freeze, and voters will have the option to add more freezes and a cap with another question on this ballot in April. So the question to you is, how do you think the district should handle a reduction in funding? Tommy J. Walsh.
That's a tricky one. Can't we go to somebody else first? No, that's a really tricky question. Thank you, Charlie. I love that the board is diverse. Deanna Olson is a brilliant person when it comes to the finances and things like that. That's not my forte, honestly. I am more aligned with mental health and education than I am with finances. I know my stepmother, she's a senior and she lives here in Raymore. And it's a very, tight budget for our seniors. And so, I know we want to respect and honor our seniors for sure. How we're going to make up missing money, that's going to be a creative solution we're going to all have to come up with. I know many of the organizations do great fundraisers. We're involved quite a bit with the music programs, and they have wonderful fundraisers that really help boost their programs. And that's just one small program of many at RAPEC. There's all the athletics and many other programs that have their fundraisers. So yes, as a board, we're going to be diverse. We're going to strengthen each other. And I have such respect for the board and so thankful for their service. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Ruth Johnson will now come to you with that question. How do you think the district should handle a possible reduction in funding through property taxes?
It's frustrating to develop budgets for districts with so much of our funding mechanisms being out of our control. So reserves have been a vital piece to make sure that we're maintaining adequate reserves. The senior property tax, we lose a little over $1 million a year, which I mean is a lot of money, but it's only about $1 million a year that we're losing on that. And then once that property is resold, then it'll come current and up to date. So it'll cycle through over time. I think with anything, prioritization will be key. Developing those priorities and what does our community want versus what can we do financially. So we will be able to weather the storm for a couple of years. And that will give us some time to really look at those things, make sure that all of these different funding mechanisms make it through the legal system, because a lot of it I'm sure will be challenged. So making sure that we are not giving a gut reaction to things, but really thinking through and going through what we do on any budget cycle year. And our strategic plan will help play into that as well. We are vital with our strategic plan. So that will help guide some of that work as well. And I see it's turned red.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruth. Lacey Cumberland will come to you next. How do you think the district should handle a possible reduction in funding from property taxes?
I also agree with Ruth and Tommy J. It is a very difficult situation that we're being put in with the reduction of funding for our schools all over the place. I think the best way out of this is going to be to fundraise and hope that these things don't go through and hope that a lot of the things that we actually do get more funding back in. So if we don't fund our schools, we've got some serious problems. The other thing is to really just look at our budgets and look at what we're spending money on and start asking ourselves hard questions like, is this a necessity or is it a desire? And how can we make it up in creative ways that may not be obvious at first? We have a lot of amazing people in our community. What can we do to draw the community in and help get support from them instead of just relying on funding from outside sources?
Great. Thank you so much. Lacey, you're now going to answer the next two questions first. I'm sorry to do that to you. It's just the random order. So you'll be first on this one. And the question is, what do you think is needed to recruit and retain high quality teachers and staff? Lacey Cumberland.
Ooh, all the hard questions. Definitely one of the best things that we need, one of the things that we need to do is raise teacher pay. It is terribly low across the country right now, and I know that our teachers are having to work sometimes two jobs, two and three jobs to even just make it in this world right now. And that's unacceptable. We really want our teachers to be able to afford life and be able to focus on their students without having to go home and worry about where their next meal is coming from. I think another thing that we need to do is really look at the perks that our teachers have and what can we do to make sure that we're giving, the best benefits that we can to our teachers. I know one thing I found out recently is that teachers only get 10 days off a year. And that to me was shocking. And that's, I guess, standard throughout a lot of the area. And maybe that's something that we can look at to give our teachers a little bit more breathing room that may not bite into our budget too badly.
Great. Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh will come to you next. What do you think is needed to recruit and retain high quality teachers and staff?
Well, the district actually has done some makeover or improvements in this area recently. Mike Slagle has done I think, a great job with some of that, and so there is some improvement. Yes, there's room for more improvement, especially when you look at salaries. Lee Summit, Blue Valley, Shawnee Mission. And then we also see that Olathe is having struggles, and so it's a balance. A lot of people that I talk to who work in the district just love the community, and they also love the positivity that Dr. Slagle, brings to the district, and it filters down. There's just been some wonderful principals lately. We've been impressed, and again, it's just our own personal experience by the music program here and the theater program and the positivity, and that really draws a lot of teachers to be part of the community. Yes, pay is important. We got to look at matching PTO. Yes, Shawnee Mission has 13. Blue Valley, I think, has an Olathe that might have 16. Those are good things too. Maybe we can lower insurance rates for families. Wonderful. But building upon that positivity is what's going to keep.
Thank you so much. Ruth Johnson will come to you next. What do you think is needed to recruit and retain high quality teachers and staff?
Well, I think we've made some progress in that in the last few years. We've given teachers raises the last 4 years. And so we've really been working at not only just giving them their step, but adding to the base so that everyone feels that as well. Coming up with, like she said, some alternatives that we can do that maybe isn't financial. We started something this year, free Friday lunches, something that sounds so small, but it's one less thing they have to think about on their Fridays. When I think back to when we get our monthly personnel report, we aren't losing our teachers to other districts as much. You've got a lot of a spouse's job is moving, or they're staying home with their own kiddos. There's a lot of other factors that play into that as well. And we are a community that they can live in hours and within 20 minutes be to so many other areas. So that plays into our area as well. Teacher work days, we were really making some headway on that, and then the legislature passed some legislation that mandates when we can start school. And so like this coming year, that's really hit hard because Labor Day falls late. So we had to really, the teachers did a lot of the work of figuring out, what they want their schedule to look like. 75% of our budget goes to teachers and staff. So, I mean, a big chunk of our budget already goes there. So they are our priority.
Thank you so much. Lacey Cumberland, I warned you, you're answering two questions in a row first. So this one's coming straight to you. How will you collaborate with your board peers, both inside and outside of meetings, especially with those peer members with whom you do not agree?
Well, disagreements are always bound to happen. And I think the important part there is to respect each other as we're having disagreements. Um, it's something that we have to deal with in life, right? Sometimes you have to work with people that you don't like, and that is just one of those things you have to get used to. And it's all about communication and talking to each other and making sure that you're being respectful about it. And keeping an open communication. If there's ever a point to where I feel like, I'm not being heard, you can always just sit down with another person and say, hey, like, this is what's happening. Here's how I feel, and this is why I feel this way, and get through it that way. And sometimes you just have to understand that you're not going to be heard in every situation. And it's unfortunately one of those situations where you've got to be able to work together as a team and make sure we're all still working for the children here. That's why we're here. And that's what we're doing. And if someone gets overruled, well, that is unfortunate, and you can always work towards your cause, but at the same time, you always have to work as a team too, and make sure you're doing it respectfully.
Thank you so much. This question now goes to Ruth Johnson. How will you collaborate with your board peers, both inside and outside of meetings, especially with those with whom you disagree?
I think when we're talking about issues on the board, we have probably 8 months of the year, we have a work session and our board meeting. And those work sessions really give us time to talk through upcoming programs, curriculum, a lot of those things. And at the end of the day, when we have a regular board meeting and we vote on something, we're a team of 7. And so, like she said, we may not get it to go the way we want, but we are a team of 7 and we're unified after that vote because it is about the kids. And so trying to make sure that we're doing those things. And I agree with her again on having those one-on-one conversations. I mean, that's just a part of life. When you've got an issue or a concern or just need to talk through something to make sure you both are on the same page, it's those one-on-one conversations that really can make or break any discussion. So, I'm just one of 7, and that's, me and myself, we can't do anything by ourselves. So it's about that work and being able to work together so that we are a team.
Great. Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, we'll come to you next. How will you collaborate with your board peers, both inside and outside of meetings, and especially with those with whom you disagree?
I have a lot of experience with people who disagree, and that's okay. I think, staying positive, golden rule, um, being nice, playing nice, all the things on the playground you're supposed to do, the board should do. Now, Ruth, of course, has years of experience, and it's wonderful to hear that about the work sessions. A lot of things, again, as an outsider, um, I don't go to. Um, and it would be just a learning opportunity to be part of a group of 7 like that. Disagreements, sure, that's going to happen from different points of view. I would expect it. Paul Kaufman, for example, comes from a football background. I looked it up. Played Green Bay Packers, great career. He has a different perspective, and Lacey and Deanna and I don't know them all, but we all come with different perspectives, and we may not always agree, but we can be respectful. And it sounds like having a consensus when we vote on these things is the best way to go, to have everybody agree so that everybody feels heard. We may disagree and we may fight, but we fight to understand one another. We don't fight to win or hurt somebody or belittle anybody. That's not what it's about. It's about supporting each other and remembering it is for the kids, like Lacey said. Lacey's just got some wonderful ideas. I'm so glad to have met her. So it's going to be a great election, everybody. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy J. Ruth, you'll answer this next question first. How will you strengthen the partnership between the school district and parents and other community members?
Well, I think it's about being that conduit between the district and the parents. My phone is always open, my emails are always there, to just being able to listen. Sometimes part of the solution to a problem or a frustration is just being heard and being listened to. And then helping direct them to the right person to go to with that issue. Maybe they've already done there, and then you can direct them to the next level up. Again, we're not in the everyday weeds, so we can't fix, issues, but we can help direct them and then follow up if necessary to make sure that those issues are being addressed. And then just being open and willing to listen to anyone.
Thank you. Lacey Cumberland, we'll come to you next. How will you strengthen the partnership between the school district and parents and other community members?
I think getting people involved would be the best way to do it, and then getting involved myself with various programs in the school district. I know I've already talked to one program in hopes to help volunteer soon. And that's one way, as a school board member, that we can get involved and kind of get out there and make sure that we're connecting with other people, is finding a way to be seen by our community and be heard by our community as well. Um, Another one of the things that I really would hope to be able to do is to be able to attend some of the sports games and the concerts and various things, and just be available for the parents to be able to come up to and talk to, and hopefully they can get to know me and I can get to know them, and we'll be able to start that communication if it needs to happen, or at least they'll be able to become more involved. Love to see more people at some of the board meetings.
Yeah, that's fair. Thanks, Lacey. Tommy J. Walsh, we'll come to you with this question. How will you strengthen the partnership between the school district and parents and other community members?
Mhm. Well, yeah, Ruth has some great ideas there. Of course, with the open communication, that's always important, whether it's email or phone or who knows what, Facebook. um, Being involved, like Lacey talked about, being part of clubs. I've seen Ruth's picture many times also, giving out awards. And boy, those things are just wonderful. And just building, it's such a positive school district we have, and so many great things. So building upon those type of things. Um, being being available for those who don't feel they're heard, or for those who really feel victimized or having problems, you know. Um, I'm really sympathetic to that. If parents are out there frustrated and they need somebody to talk to and brainstorm, um, that would I would that would be the kind of role I see myself doing, is helping, especially those who feel unheard or underrepresented. So yes, all those things. And there was something else I was thinking of, but I see my time is running out if I remember it. But being involved is really important, and sometimes leading the way on issues that might be a little sensitive.
Thank you so much. Lacey Cumberland, we're going to come to you again with the first person to answer this question. All right. It says, what effects could open enrollment have on the Ray Peck School District? And the person who wrote this question seemed most concerned with a Ray-Pec student transferring to another school district through open enrollment. So what effects do you feel open enrollment could have on Ray-Pec?
It definitely could hurt the district. I need to do a lot more research into open enrollment. I heard something recently that that the money go or they take their money with them and it never comes back. And that is a really unfortunate situation. We've talked already tonight about how the funding is being dwindled away, and we really could use more funding and to allow students to go somewhere where they may not be accepted otherwise is frustrating. And where all students aren't accepted. Our public money should be going to schools where everyone's accepted and everyone's able to go. Schools that are able to deny people based on anything is not where our public money should be going. I think private schools are great, and I think if a parent wants to send their kid there, that's great. But I think it also shouldn't receive public money, especially if they're able to deny any student. Um, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, we're coming to you next on this question. What effects could open enrollment have on the Ray-Pec School District?
I don't think our kids are going anywhere. We have such a great school district. I mean, were they going to drive to Lee Summit? I don't know. Maybe a few, but I think we'll have kids wanting to come to us. We have just great programs. We have great coaches. We have great instructors. We have great music and drama and athletics. I'm not too worried about it if that law ever were to happen and everyone thinks, no, I think Raypec is going to be the place where people want to come and not worry about we're losing people to other schools. So that's my feeling on that, Charlie.
Thank you so much. Ruth Johnson, we'll come to you now. What effects could open enrollment have on the Ray-Pec School District?
Well, it depends on the version they pass. We have advocated the last several years intensely for being able to opt into it. That way, we would have some control over class sizes, over how many come in. I would agree that we probably wouldn't lose very many, maybe on the outer edges, just because we do have so many options. But like she said, they don't have to take everybody a lot of times. So, especially your special education students, those are your highest need and also cost the most. And so making sure that there's adequate resources for them. Um, it's a tricky situation. I don't know. We already see how our governor the last 2 years now has given money to the vouchers program basically so that those students and they can go anywhere with that money. And I would be curious to see the statistics behind it of those students that are taking that money, how many of them were already in a private school. I know of one in particular that has made about $750,000 from that money because of students going there. So they're gaining a lot, but they're not always having to follow the same rules. So that's the frustration is if they're going to take the public money, they should have to have the same standards that they have to be held to in many ways. So it's a concern, because we would have an influx that would want to come to our district.
Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, you'll be the first to answer this question. And the question is, how do you define the separation of church and state when it comes to public school districts? And in what areas should it apply or should it not apply?
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of church myself. I even served as a missionary. I was an ordained minister in Germany, and I would go to door to talk about Jesus. Um, I've done a lot of studies on this. I used to work actually in New York City as a social studies teacher, and I met a lot of diverse students, diverse religions. My wife used to work downtown Kansas City at a charter school where maybe a majority of the students were Muslim. And right now, where I work in Shawnee Mission Elementary, we have Muslim students, we have Jewish students, we have Catholic and Mormon. and Muslim. I said Muslim, Lutheran. We have Methodists. We have just everything in that school. So the concern is the influence of the teacher on the students' religious choices. If you have a favorite teacher and they're talking about, hey, I go to this church, that's very dangerous. Those young minds will be influenced to go to that church where their favorite teacher goes. So that's where the problem really lies. We can certainly talk about many religions, but we can't favor one of the religions. Which one?
Thank you so much. We're going to move to Ruth Johnson next with this question. Ruth, how do you define the separation of church and state when it comes to schools
Well,
and in
a
public
lot of that
schools?
is mandated by state and federal statutes already for us. So many times our hands are already tied in a lot of ways. So we have to first and foremost follow those. I often caution our state legislators specifically how sometimes their legislation may be well intended, but it ties our hands in a lot of times. Because once you open that Pandora's box because you favor this or that over something else, if you allow one thing, whatever that may be, you have to allow all. So, and depending on the communities that you live in, that could be looked at differently. You know, they may be fine with one thing but not the other. So I caution them many times on the legislation that they would like to propose, because once that door is open for us, we can't just go back and shut it. And many times we can't pick and choose. So, following the statutes is our primary thing on that, and then community driven.
Great. Thank you so much. Lacey Cumberland, how would you define the separation of church and state when it comes to public schools?
Well, it's incredibly important, number one. And number two, I would say that it is one of those things where if we're going to be teaching about any single religion, we need to be teaching about all of them. As Ruth said, if we allow one, we have to allow all. It's about equality there. We have several different kinds of students in all of our districts, all around the region, of various different religions. And how could we possibly even begin to try to sway a child's decision in that manner? And I just don't see that as something that is the school's responsibility or job. That's definitely something that should be handled at home. And churches often even times can't even agree if they're the same religion. They often can't agree. I grew up in the church, and I know I've been to several different ones, and they oftentimes had different flavors. And that's not a decision that the school should be making as far as what flavor do we like, and what flavor are we going to teach. We should just stay out of that as far as I'm concerned.
Got it. Thank you so much. Lacey, you're going to be the first to answer this next question. You're getting a lot of firsts. I swear it's random. This is also kind of has to deal with like state legislature stuff, and it's almost a three-part question. So I'll read it for you, and I can repeat it if you need me to. Some legislators in Jefferson City are talking about standardizing school board terms to 4 years. I think you guys serve 3-year terms, right? And then requiring candidates to list their political party on the ballot, and then moving school board elections from April to November. So, what are your thoughts on those proposals? Which, again, I'll read through all three of them real fast. Changing terms to 4 years, requiring you to list your political party on the ballot, and then moving the school board elections to November. Lacey Cumberland, you'll be first.
I'll do the easy two first. Moving the elections to November, that is, I can see both sides of that. It would be nice if we could get more voter turnout, and then our voters in our community have a better say. And voter turnout is always better in November. Um, but also, it's kind of nice to have a separate election for our school boards. And as far as serving 4 years instead of three, that's also fairly easy. That doesn't affect a whole lot. I think it's good the way it is, but also 4 years isn't really going to change the terms too much. Um, and I don't think that we should be allowing party affiliation on the school board tickets at all. Our kids are already getting really politicized in today's world, and I think that's something that really needs to stop. We need to be able tell our kids that they are loved and they are cared for no matter what. And our job as a school is to be able to educate them and make sure that they are being brought up to be the best people that they can be no matter what they want to be in this world. Um, and hopefully we can help them find their place and find what they want to do and help encourage them go to whatever secondary education they want to go to, whether that's university or trade schools, or maybe they don't want to go to secondary education at all. Um, I would just love to see our students supported.
Great. Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, you're next here on your thoughts on standardizing school board terms to 4 years, listing political party on the ballot, and changing the elections to November.
Sure. So, 2 out of 3 of those ideas are great. Lacey had some good points though about April and having a separate election. That's interesting too. But yeah, the turnout for sure. Um, I was just thinking for me, and how am I going to vote? It's just like I got to get to work, the polls, and then zip out of there and try and catch the poll at the end of the day. What's my choices? So, and of course, you have the same issue in November, but you're kind of prepared for a big election in November. That might be an okay thing. 3 to 4 years, I don't think that if the voters want that, let the voters have it. I don't think it's as big a deal. We have a great school board, and if people leave, great people are appointed. So I don't think that's a big issue. Now, political party, this always kind of is intriguing to me because we're obviously a very Republican area, and I'm certain that anybody who runs for school board is going to be a Republican, and who's to say that they're not? Because we can all join whatever party we want to, whatever secret ideals we may hold. We can all pay our dues to the Republican Party if we choose to. Listing it, I really like what Lacey had to say. We want to keep our schools political free. Thank you, Lacey.
Thank you, Tommy J. Ruth, we'll come to you next on your thoughts on that potential legislation out of Jeff City on school term limits, or in your case, adding a year to it, political party on the ballot and moving the ballot to November.
I kind of sound like a broken record, but this has been a big advocacy piece the last several years. The 4 year term, I agree, probably isn't a huge deal. The political party and the move to November is huge, um, because we try to remain as neutral as possible in our advocacy. But at the same time, if you try to move those local elections from April, which are the ones typically that you're going to notice the biggest impact at your home first with those elections, moving those to November, you're not necessarily going to gain any more voters. That's going to go all the way to the bottom of that ballot because it's going to get lost on a November ballot, especially in presidential years, in big off years. They're not necessarily going to vote all the way to the end of that. And you're just even if you remain neutral and don't put your party affiliation, it's still going to be very politicized. It's going to discourage a lot of people from even being able to run for a school board that's a free, or in my case, sometimes losing money deal. Because they're not going to feel like they can afford to do it because of all the signage, the ads, all of those things that are huge in a November election. You're just creating more division in doing that. So I'm very much against the political affiliation and the moving to November. I agree that 4 year probably isn't a huge deal, but I would have to think through that a little more.
Great. Thank you so much. Now, Ruth, you're in line here to answer the next two questions first. And these are our final two questions, guys. You're doing a great job. So this one, Ruth, is please tell us about a teacher who inspired your interest in supporting Ray Peck schools.
Oh goodness. I had 4 kiddos, and in our home, we experienced every kind of education there was. We did private school, we've done public school. I had one that finished online, and I had one that just completely dropped out. So we've experienced it all at our house. And I don't know that I can think of one teacher in particular necessary. It's about the attitude of the teachers in general. It's the ones that care, that take the time to, when they're having a bad day, maybe take a few extra minutes with them. If they're struggling, getting with the parent and coming up with strategies that will help that individual student. So it's just about the mentality of the teachers that we seem to have in our district overall that makes the biggest difference. If you had asked me when I was a senior in high school if this is something I would have ever dreamt of doing, it never was on my radar. But I was an engaged community member before my kids went into public school, and to me, this was just the next step after that. So I think it's about the attitude and the genuine care that our teachers exhibit in our district.
Great. Thank you so much. Lacey Cumberland, we'll come to you next. Please tell us about a teacher who inspired your interest in supporting Ray-Pec schools.
Um, I don't have a particular teacher that inspired me to support Ray-Pec schools, but to support schools in general. One of my teachers, Mrs. Lee, was my band teacher when I was in high school. And she was just amazing. And I know she just recently retired, and I just loved her dedication and commitment to her craft. It was always amazing. And then the second teacher I'd say would be Mr. Becker, my math teacher and track coach, also from high school. Just again, amazing people, always looking to give back to their community, and just did everything for the love of their students and for the love of teaching. And that was just something that's always inspired me.
Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, please tell us about a teacher who inspired your interest in supporting Ray-Pec schools.
You know, Charlie, I do believe in angels, and many of them work for the Ray-Pec School District. So thankful to Miss Beck and her comments to my son to become a writer. So thankful for that. And Ms. Wellman, who was his gifted teacher for many years. So grateful. My son had so many struggles socially, and school was a refuge for him. For my daughter, going back to Miss Lyon and her early years and early development and Miss Lyon's kindness. And also the Schnocky duo, and the opportunities they give many students to shine, to show their talent, to feel like they belong, to be accepted for who they are, despite what internal struggles they might be going through. Of course, I just have to take 1 second to be so thankful to John McKinney, who's helps with families, and his role is growing, and also Stephen Rue. My daughter has just grown so much from his mentorship, from his opportunities. She's learned discipline, she's learned kindness, and we're so thankful for Mr. Rue's acceptance of all students, despite their gender presentation, despite their LGBT status, despite who they are. Thank you, Mr. Rue.
All right, Ruth, you'll answer this first question first again, and it's kind of open-ended. This question is, what question do you wish I had asked you? And then how would you answer that question? Maybe there's a question you've gotten on the campaign trail or at a different forum that I didn't ask today that you think is important to put out there. So what question do you wish I'd asked? And then please answer that question.
Oh, I don't know. We've had a pretty broad range of questions tonight, so I'm not sure. Maybe just why I still do what I do. I feel very blessed to get to do what I get to do. I don't take it for granted whatsoever. I think back to COVID and some of the discussions that we had during COVID. People would say, well, you haven't thought about the decisions you're making, and, you're just flippantly making decisions. When you made decisions in our district, you were making decisions for 2 cities. You were making decisions for 6,000 plus students. You were making decisions for almost 1,000 teachers. You were making decisions for all of those parents, and two communities that their money base affected everyone as well. So no decision was ever made flippantly. You know, I would sometimes I wanted to say, would you like to know how many times I woke up thinking about this last night? You know, none of that was ever taken lightly. It's been the only time that I've ever thought, just for a brief second, why did I do this? You know, going through the grocery store, I had a few little God winks sometimes that somebody would come up behind me and say, thank you for what you're doing. We know it's not easy, you know, so that would maybe be as just why I still do what I do.
Well, thank you for that. Lacey Cumberland, we'll come to you next with what question do you think or do you wish I had asked? And then would you please answer that question?
Um, I'm not certain. You covered quite the broad range of topics. Yeah, I have no idea what question I would ask myself. I think you hit most of them.
Well,
What
we
are
can
my
leave it at that.
hobbies? I guess what are my hobbies?
Yeah.
I like to sew. I like to scuba dive. I like to play D&D. A lot of other fun stuff, and I'm just excited to help our students, and that's the important part.
Great. Thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, what question do you wish I had asked? And would you please answer that question?
Yeah, Charlie, you would have asked me something like, "Hey, Tommy, what's up with transgender?" And I would say, Charlie, did you know we have transgender students already? Did you know we've had transgender students graduate already? We have LGBT students. We have LGBT parents. We have trans parents. Look, you can see me. I'm transparent. But it's the day of visibility for transgender today. And what's important to know is that we're not demonic. We're not possessed. We're not pedophiles. We are regular people. I'm a father as much as I'm a transgender woman. I'm a participant in the district. I'm a school board candidate. I'm a school social worker. I have been for, gosh, I think it's been at least, I've been a social worker since 1999. And so, what trans kids need is love, support, and some privacy sometimes. And if we can offer that to them, if we just give them love, support, and a little privacy sometimes, it's going to make a big difference. And I hope, Dr. Schlegel, you're listening. Thank you so much, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Well, candidates, it's now time for your 2-minute closing remarks. And I want to thank you personally for being here and joining us on the forum today. I do have one request that you share the website for the League of Women Voters and the link to this forum with your voters as you campaign over the next week and help, get the word out on this forum so that voters can, get a good idea of what we talked about. And then, of course, please encourage everybody you talk to in the next week to get out and vote on April 7th. All right, so candidates, we're going to use your closing remarks. We're going to give you 2 minutes for these, and we're going to go with Lacey Cumberland. Your name just keeps popping up first. Lacey, Tommy, and then Ruth. So Lacey Cumberland, you have 2 minutes.
All right. So everyone definitely get out there and vote this April 7th. It is important. There's a lot of stuff on the ballot this time around that is going to be affecting our school board and our community. And I hope you guys will pick me as your school board candidate. I am so excited to just be able to help our kids and to be able to bring some new ideas and some outside thinking and some outside perspective onto the school board. And just ensure that all of our students get everything that they need to be able to move forward in this world. And it's going to be a sticky time for us here coming up, and it's a sticky time for our students. And we just want to make sure that they are the ones that are being focused on, and they're the ones that are most important to us. So everybody get out there and vote and make your voices heard.
Great, thank you so much. Tommy J. Walsh, you now have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Mm. We have a great school district. We do. We have a great school district. We've got phenomenal teachers that we definitely want to retain and keep. I've been impressed with the school board. They're just great people. and so thankful for them. And Ruth has been a wonderful leader in the school board for many years. Um, I am running to make a difference. And I know sometimes that can be unsettling for some people, as transgender can be new and uncomfortable for people. But we have to remember that this is a public school and we include everybody in the public. And we have multiple religions. Passover starts tonight. We have Easter, we have Good Friday and Easter coming up. And there are there's a big segment of people who are also non religious. And those people are welcome in our schools too. And so we just have to be remembering all the diversity we have and respecting all those points of view. I am for teachers. Teachers are in the trenches, as it were. They deserve lunchtimes. We're uninterrupted. We can't have people saying, do this during your lunch hour, a half hour, 20 minutes, really. No, it's their time, plan times. They need to be untouched. That's the teacher's time to get ready for the students because we care about the students most of all. We got to give our teachers better money, better PTO, better insurance. We need to make sure our kids feel safe. Security, like Ruth talked about, so important. We want to have our kids feeling secure. We want to have more options for bathrooms for some people who feel uncomfortable in the large bathroom, whatever the reason, whether it's dysphoria, depression, anxiety. We want our kids with mental health diagnoses cared for. Thank you, Charlie.
Yep. Thank you. Ruth Johnson, we're going to turn to you now to close us out with your 2-minute closing statement.
All right, no pressure. I want to continue my service. We are all on a positive continuum. We are improving our numbers in academics. Our students are breaking records and setting high bars in many of our athletic, academic, and leadership activities. Just last night, well, it was about a week ago, we celebrated a young person who, for the first time in over 25 years, had gotten recognition in student leadership. So our students are doing well. Our ladies golf won first place in the state for the first time ever. So our students are succeeding at high levels. I want to help carry us into the future as we bring in the ROTC program opportunity for our students. We must give them all the supports they need to succeed in any area they choose. We need a board with no side agendas or personal projects. Our current board is focused on seeing all students grow and learn, not only academically, but personally. Our public deserves to have a board who is actively engaged, constantly learning, and holding the superintendent accountable. I bring experience, passion, and the time needed to dedicate to this service. And if anyone has any questions or wants to learn any information on the Prop RP, on our website, there's FAQ on each of the 5 areas that we're going to focus on, and they can get a lot of those answers or questions answered. And there are a priority list on there of kind of what we've talked about in the order in which we would tackle some of those key issues. So I am just thankful to all of you for doing this. I'm thankful to Lacey and Tommy for being here and doing this with us. Like she said, voting is key. I tell people there's no excuse not to vote in any election, whether it's April or November. They have those same opportunities. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to earning your vote on Tuesday, April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the candidates for being here and for being a part of it. Thank you for our viewers for tuning in today. I want to get things back over to the League of Women Voters and Anitra Steele to wrap things up for us. Anitra.
Thank you, audience, for your interest in the April 7th election. A recording of this forum will be available on the League's website, lwvkc.org. Please take a moment to share the forum with your neighbors and on your social media. And remember, for voting, candidate information, visit lwvkc.org and vote411.org. Thank you. Good night.